Just like that, we're already through 3 weeks of the college football season. This weekend is going to be week 4, and a solid chunk of the season is already behind us. It's never too early to start looking at those Heisman odds, so here's my Heisman top 10 as we get ready to enter week 4 of the college football season. Before we get to today's video, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to my channel. If you're watching this video, odds are you love college football, and odds are you aren't subscribed to my channel. So make sure to subscribe to one of the best college football communities here on YouTube. Kicking off this list is Oklahoma State quarterback Alan Bowman. Now, Alan Bowman has been playing college football since 2018, but I don't think he's ever cracked any Heisman video I've done going all the way back. But he's been fantastic for the Cowboys this season. Through 3 games, he's completing 67% of his passes and has already thrown for 1,000 yards. He has 8 passing touchdowns with only 2 interceptions. He's coming off probably the best game of his collegiate career this weekend on the road to Tulsa. He completed 78% of his passes while throwing for 400 yards with 5 passing touchdowns. It's looking like Oklahoma State's going to be one of the best teams in the Big 12 this year. So if the Cowboys are one of the best teams in all of college football by the time November rolls around, and Alan Bowman is near the top in passing yards and passing touchdowns, I think the 35-year-old is going to be there at the end. Georgia was on upset watch this weekend, but they're still 3-0 and one of the best teams in all of college football, and they're led by Carson Beck. Through 3 games, he's completing 68% of his passes and is thrown for 700 yards. He has 7 passing touchdowns and no interceptions. The reason I have him this low on the list is because of this past weekend and the fact that Georgia nearly lost. But if he's able to bounce back, which I think he will, he's going to continue to climb up these rankings over the next couple of weeks. Dillon Gabriel has posted Heisman-like numbers through the first 3 weeks of the season, but a couple of close games to start his year is the reason I have him so low. He's been as good as advertised for the Ducks, as he's completing 84% of his passes. He's also thrown for 900 yards with 6 passing touchdowns and no interceptions. He's also added 2 touchdowns on the ground as well. This past weekend was definitely his best game of the year as Oregon dominated Oregon State. Gabriel threw for 300 yards, he ran for 60 yards, and had 3 total touchdowns. Like with Carson Beck, Dillon Gabriel is going to continue to climb up the rankings as we move forward because I'm guessing Oregon is going to continue to win their games. But for right now, because of a couple of close victories over some bad opponents, I have him this low. Kansas State quarterback Avery Johnson doesn't have quite as good as numbers as some other quarterbacks on this list, but this past weekend, he picked up one of the biggest wins of the college football season. Kansas State knocked off number 20 Arizona, and he had one of the best games we've seen from a quarterback this year. In the ranked victory, he threw for 150 yards with 2 passing touchdowns, while also adding 110 yards on the ground. Through the first 3 weeks of the season, he's thrown for 500 yards with 6 passing touchdowns, but does have 200 rushing yards. His numbers are going to have to improve if he wants to have a legitimate chance of winning the Heisman, but considering Kansas State is right there in the Big 12 hunt and they already have an impressive victory, that's why I do have him over some of those other quarterbacks I mentioned earlier. Quinn Yates has been fantastic for Texas to start the season, but he got hurt this past weekend and I'm not quite sure how much time he's going to miss. Through 3 games, he's completing 73% of his passes and is thrown for 700 yards with 8 passing touchdowns. I talked about this last week, but his victory last weekend on the road at Michigan is the best win by any quarterback so far in college football this year. Because of that, I'm going to continue to have him highly ranked. But if Quinn Ewers misses a couple of games, it's really going to hurt his chances. There have been a lot of good running backs so far to start the season, but I don't see that many people talking about UCF running back RJ Harvey. Through 3 games, he's already ran for 450 yards and has 8 rushing touchdowns. He also has a touchdown through the air as well. On 59 carries, he's averaging 7.6 yards per attempt. This past weekend was his best performance of the year as he ran for 180 yards with 2 touchdowns on the road against TCU. UCF is undefeated and they're making a quiet case at being a potential threat in the Big 12 this season. Before we get to the rest of today's video, I'd like to share with you guys how you can make the college football season more exciting and even win some money. I've partnered with Underdog Fantasy to bring you this amazing deal. If you download the Underdog Fantasy app and use promo code Harris, they'll match your first deposit up to $1,000. That's right, they're giving you up to $1,000 of free money. You can choose your favorite players from every game and decide whether or not they'll go higher or lower than their projections. So to add a little extra excitement to every game and win some money, make sure to use promo code Harris for a 100% deposit match up to $1,000 at Underdog Fantasy. You guys can also sign up using the link in my description as well. In only 2 games, Kyle McCord has posted video game-like numbers for Syracuse. He's completing a very nice 69% of his passes and is thrown for 750 yards with 8 passing touchdowns. Again, he's only played in 2 games, but his numbers are among some of the best in all of college football. The last time we saw him was in a top 25 victory over Georgia Tech when he threw for 380 yards with 4 passing touchdowns. Syracuse is looking like a legitimate threat in the ACC this year, so if they continue to win games and McCord posts these video game-like numbers, who knows, the Orange could have a Heisman winner this year. After finishing 6th in Heisman voting in 2023, Alabama quarterback Jalen Milroe has been just as good, if not better, in 2024. Through 3 games, he's completing 67% of his passes and has thrown for 600 yards. He has 8 passing touchdowns with no interceptions. Meanwhile, on the ground, he's also rushed for 150 yards with 6 rushing scores. I talked about this during the offseason, but I said if Jalen Milroe wanted to win the Heisman in 2024, he was going to have to surpass all of the numbers he posted in 2023. Well, he's well on track to doing that so far this year. Cam Ward has been fantastic so far for the Hurricanes. Through 3 games, he's completing 73% of his passes. He's already thrown for over 1,000 yards and has 11 passing touchdowns with only 1 interception. Now, the last 2 weeks, he hasn't really played anybody, considering they've played Florida A&M and Ball State, but that road victory to start off the season in week 1 at Florida is still what's keeping him so high. I get that the Gators aren't quite as good as many were expecting, but the fact that he threw for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns in the Swamp is still one of the better performances we've seen from a quarterback this year. Leading the way though at number 1 is Ole Miss quarterback Jackson Dart. Through 3 games, he's completing 83% of his passes. He's thrown for 1,200 yards and has 8 passing touchdowns. As of right now, Jackson Dart leads almost every quarterback category you can ask for. The Rebels haven't played anybody just yet, considering their best opponent has been Wake Forest, but Jackson Dart has been lighting up the stat sheet every game. And based on some of these performances, it looks like Lane Kiffin doesn't mind getting Jackson Dart some garbage time points as well. I mean, in some of these games, they've been up by 30 or 40 points, and he's still letting Jackson Dart sling the ball. So if I were to guess, this is going to continue throughout the rest of the way, and I think Jackson Dart is going to finish with some really incredible numbers this year. It's all going to come down to how many games does Ole Miss win, and if they're a legitimate playoff contender. Well, that wraps it up for my Heisman top 10. Was there a player I didn't include that should have made the list, or is there a player that should have been ranked higher? Whoever it is, let me know in the comments down below. Before you leave, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to my channel. I'm posting college football videos every day during the season, so make sure to subscribe so you never miss a video. Also, don't forget to drop a like on this video as well. It helps out with that YouTube algorithm and helps share the video and my channel with more college football fans. Plus, it only takes a second to do. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.